So next we'll go to synchronous sequential logic where we discuss latches and flip-flops. So the basic difference between a combinational circuit and a sequential circuit is this. In a combinational circuit, the output depends on present inputs only. Whereas in a sequential circuit, the output depends on the present inputs as well as the internal states of the circuit. Which means that there should be some mechanism in a sequential circuit which is enabling it to store memory. So how do we do that? That is what we are going to see now. That is actually achieved by storage elements. There are two types of storage elements we'll discuss here. First one are latches and the other are flip-flops. So first we'll look at the latches. The first one is basic latch is SR latch. So the SR latch refers to a set reset latch where you have such a circuit where there is a NOR gate here and there is another NOR gate here, and the point here is the outputs are actually feeded back into the inputs of the other NOR gate. So you have such a circuit where there are two input lines, one is called reset and reset, and there are two outputs Q and Q dash. We actually set the circuit in such a way that Q and Q dash are complement of each other. So now what you have actually is two circuits. Okay, so what are we actually going to achieve by this? How does this circuit achieve the problem of solve the problem of storing memory in the circuit? We'll see how it works. So let's say you wish to set the latch first. So you yes, you give a high signal to yes, and when you do not give any signal, the signal line remains at zero. So let's say you give a high signal to yes. What happens is you look at the output of this. Let's say you evaluate the output of this NOR gate first. The input to the NOR gates are Q and yes. You do not know what is the value of Q because it's an output of the circuit. Beforehand, you cannot know the output because Q itself is a function of R as well. So you're going to when you wish to calculate, let's say you calculate Q first, then you get the value of Q dash, which in turn you do not know. So how does one approach this? The interesting fact here is you have S and Q as input, right? This we are actually exploiting the behavior of an OR gate here. What it does is actually a NOR gate can be decomposed into an OR gate and a NOT gate. So let's look at the OR gate first. OR gate's inputs are S and Q. When you set S as 1, independent of whether Q is 0 or 1, the output of the OR gate will always be 1. That is we are exploiting that factor of a OR gate, and then when you complement it, you will get 0. So Q dash becomes 0. So when you feed in Q dash to this, since both Q and R are 0, the output of this NOR gate will be 1, and you get Q as 1 and Q dash as 0. So this is how you achieve. So this will in turn be feeding back into the second NOR gate, and this process will keep on continuing. Unless you change the signal values to some other value, this Q and Q dash will be settling down at 1 and 0 respectively. So in turn, what have you achieved here is you have achieved a way of storing a bit in this circuit by using this block. So whenever you want to know what is the element bit stored in the queue, you can simply take a line here and just plug it to the output to see what is actually it's being stored. So unless you change the inputs, otherwise this will be continuing to remain at 1 and 0 respectively. So now let's say you wish to change it, like let's say you wish to change it to you wish to reset the latch. So you again apply one signal to the R, high signal to the R, and S signal will as always remain at 0. Now what happens here is like R is 1, so irrespective of whether it's Q dash is 0 or 1, but we know it's obviously 0 here, but still the output of this NOR gate will be 0 only. So Q will become 0 and immediately this Q dash will become 1 as like simultaneously. So you have successfully stored the bit 0 in this circuit by this manner. So but there is actually one catch here. Let's say you give 1 to both S and R simultaneously, the outputs Q1 Q dash both become 0. Thus this latch actually enters a metastable state. Like you cannot predict what's the next state now. It enters a undefined state. Why this is so is because only if Q and Q dash are actually complement of each other, only then this process of looping will work. Like it will continue attaining the same state. But once you give both S and R as 1, this actually attains it becomes 0 0. So you cannot predict what's the next output, next state of the system. So actually it's forbidden to give one on one here. That is the only catch. Regardless of that, it's actually nice to store elements in a circuit. So we'll go to the next latch, which is actually the D latch. So here we'll look at the table first. What do we intend to do? We have two lines, enable line and the D line as inputs, and the Q is the output line, which is actually we refer to the next state, the state. So state variable Q. So the use of the enable line is like when it is 1, then you transfer the value of contents of D to the Q, and when enable is 0, you cannot alter the contents of Q. It's more like a control line like you have. So we'll see how it actually does that. Like, if you look the circuit closely, you'll notice that this is actually a SR latch, S dash R latch. Then you have the inputs to this are, let's say enable is 1, then the inputs to this are D and D dash. So why are we inputting D and D dash? Is because we do not want to enter this forbidden state. We always wish to make S and R as complementary states. That is why we wish to do it that way. And once that is clear, then D latch performs exactly as SR latch. The only thing is you won't have any forbidden states here. So that by that way you are actually transferring whatever D has to the Q. Where when D is 0, the Q becomes 0. When enable is 1, obviously, and when D is 1, Q becomes 1. So it's called the reset and set state respectively. The D in the D latch refers to the data. Like this is the data line and the in output state line. So you will transfer whatever the data has to the state. And it is also called as transparent latch because there is no conditions or gates involved because to alter the data line. Like you directly give whatever the D has directly to the output state. It's actually reflected there, so it's called a transparent line, a transparent latch. And then here are the symbols of these latches, circuit symbols, graphic symbols, where this is actually a SR latch. The bubble represents, this is actually the the complement of the Q. Here is Q dash, the same bubble here also as well. And S dash R dash represents that if you wish to set a state, if you wish to set this slash, then you have to apply a zero signal. If you wish to set this slash, you wish to apply you have to apply a one signal. And then this is actually a D dash with the enable line. So this is how it works. Then we go to latch. The difference, we wish to see the difference between latches and flip flops basically. So latches are basically level sensitive devices, and flip flops are edge sensitive devices. What this means is, when you have a signal that is being fed into the latches, when it is when it becomes one, like when actually when the level of the signal changes, when it becomes from 0 to 1, as soon as the level changes, it will respond to the level, it will respond to the level change. But in flip-flops, it does not respond to the level change, rather it responds to the edge change, like the transition only, it will be triggered with the transition only. And I'll explain more in the next slide. And you in latches you have actually like the basic in latches actually are the basic elements to construct flip-flops. But they are not, flashes are actually not that reliable because it has some forbidden states. And in flip-flops you don't have that problem. And also latches are actually more useful in asynchronous sequential circuits, and flip-flops are more useful in synchronous signal circuits. So we'll go to this level and edge now. So this is actually okay, let's say this is a clock signal. Okay, like this is a clock signal with like this high at one time and low, and it's high, it's low, it's like that. So a latch actually responds to this part of the region, like where the response is high. Whenever there's a positive level or negative level, it depending on the latch, like, so it responds to a level of the circuit. It does not see whether it the change or anything like that. It just sees what's the level. If it's one, I'll respond. It's that way. And but the flip-flops are not like that. The point here is it only responds at this edge. It does not respond here, neither here. It only responds to this positive edge. And depending on the flip-flop, it can either respond to a positive edge or a negative edge. Like, it only responds to negative edge. Unless you change the circuit, you cannot trigger, you change the level of the input, you cannot trigger the flip flop. And as long as the change is over, once it settle down, you cannot again trigger the flip flop unless you change the level back again. So that is how the flip flops work. And how do we do this? We'll see it here now. So this is actually a flip flop. It's called D flip flop, again derived from the data flip flop. So data latch. And so you have here a change in the output of the flip flop here can be triggered only by the transition of clock from 1 to 0. We'll see how it works. Let's say the clock signal is initially 1, so you have 1 to this D latch, enable line is 1, so whatever D has will be transferred to Y. And you have actually complemented the clock and sent to this En, so you won't have enable is 0 here. So what even if Y changes here, it won't be reflected in the Q, so it is not triggered yet. When the clock is 1, this final output is not changed yet, so this flip-flop is not triggered yet. So when you just make the clock go 0, what happens is, as this enable becomes 0, so the whatever the value was just before, like before you trigger the clock, just before that, the D would be transferred to Y. And then as soon as the enable becomes 1, this y value gets transferred to q. But then again, what happens here, if you change the d again, you won't see any reflection in q, because you have cut the connection here, because this enable becomes 0 now. So this is how the flip flop responds only to the change in the transition and not to the level of the clock. So this is how you realize that. And this is actually the character equation of flip flop. Every flip flop has a characteristic equation. This is actually a state machine. Like the flip flop is actually a state machine, because it has some way of storing state. So every state machine has a state uh, equation or table. So you have, this is actually the characteristic equation, where the next state of a flip flop is given with the present input of the d, present input of the d line. So if d is 0, then next state becomes 0, which is called reset, and if d is 1, if next state becomes 1, called set. And then we go to the jk flip flop. So here in the jk flip flop, you have you can consider jk flip flop using a d flip flop. You have a d flip flop here with a clock line, and this a small arrow says that it's actually edge triggered device. So when you have actually we'll see the characteristic table in equation first. So we wish to construct such a flip flop where there are two inputs to it, and then the next state actually depends in such a way, like if you give 0 and 0, then there should be no change in the state, and if you give 0 and 1, then there should be reset, and if you give 1 and 0, it should be set, and if you give 1 and 1, it should be q dash, it should be complement of it. So to realize this, we can like we can construct the characteristic equation which satisfies all the criteria given here. And then when you try to realize it, you get the circuit here. You just feed in the inputs to the outputs to the input here only, then you construct such a circuit. Now this circuit actually is the graphic symbol of the circuit is given like this. There is a j line, k line, a clock signal, and a bubble here representing the knot. So this is actually the most used flip flop. And then we go to the t flip flop, where t flip flop here can be constructed from jk flip flop or d flip flop. The point here is, if you construct it from a jk flip flop, t flip flop is nothing but jk flip flop with both ends to be equal, like you give j and k as equal. So in this characteristic equation, you put j and k as equal, so as t, you get t q dash plus t dash q is actually t nor q. Corresponding the truth table can be seen from that equation. So we go to the characteristic table of the t flip flop. You have it performs such an operation where if you give t is equal to 0, then there will be no change in the state, and if you give t is equal to 1, then there will be, it just complement the existing state. That is how t flip flop works. With that, we have come to the end of the this part. Thank you.